The 4th of July is over. The MLB All-Star break is coming up. That's time. It means it's time to find a new form of gambling for yourself. That's going to be the world of best ball drafting. We're gearing up for an NFL season that's about 58 days away from now. Drafting on DraftKings, once again, competing for our share of $15 million. $2 million to first place, one of the best prizes you can win, even for all you DFS lovers out there. And of course, I am already in a draft room here waiting for this one to start, picking in the 3-hole. But on DraftKings, we're going to have 3 rules of thumb we always talk about in these streams, much like you guys out there listening to your DFS rules of thumb from guys like Laffy, Josh Engelman, Eric Lindquist, of course, Greg Ehrenberg, the great Greg Ehrenberg. I'll put that in front of him. Your old pal EMAC, I feel like I have to name everybody or somebody will get mad. Ben Rasa, same ways you listen to those guys for DFS. For the same things we do here for best ball, we're trying to find 3 general rules of thumb to hit. Number 1 is being mindful of average draft position, which you see on the screen here. An ADP of 1.1 for Jamar Chase. You don't want to go up, get Nico Collins at the 101, even though, yeah, maybe he can beat out Jamar Chase in terms of the projection, I guess, overall, or the points scored that he would have. You still want to take the guy who's available at 101 when you can. And then if you pick later on in a draft, you do a second draft, a third draft, take Nico Collins and pick 10, pick 11. That's what you're trying to do for the most part. So being aware of that ADP and soaking up ADP value when you can, a big part of things. And the easier way to think about it too, ADP is kind of like your median projection for DFS. Same thing there. Number 2, stacking and correlation, much like in a DFS tournament, we are trying to put our QB with wide receivers with tight ends. In best ball, you could also add an RB onto that, add maybe a few more receivers than you might normally have in DFS. Because basically you're trying to capture that rising tide of a team across an entire season. So second thing that we want to talk about here. I'm on the clock, though. One guy who's starting to fall in rooms right now is Saquon Barkley. I'm still very comfortable with him as a guy that put up the 2,000 yards last year, obviously being the big thing, but also a guy who benefited quite a bit from an Eagles offense that Kellen Moore no longer there, but the team overall generating the most yards for contact for Saquon Barkley compared to anybody else in the league. That's something where Saquon obviously did some great things himself, avoided tackles, had the explosive plays going for himself in a bigger way than a lot of running backs. He also benefited from having a better baseline than a lot of RBs in football. And as a team that's keeping a lot of that core together, again, besides the loss of Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator, keeping a lot of that core together that won a Super Bowl, and I don't see things changing. If anything, Barkley might be moved for more positive regression in terms of touchdowns and things like that with Jalen Hurts. The tush push could certainly, maybe flow away. You get more runs from the 3-yard line that convert for Saquon. I think things could at least be flat, if not better touchdown-wise, a little bit worse yardage-wise. I don't get Bijan Robinson passing up Saquon. I don't get people letting Saquon fall to the 7 spot in some rooms out there. It is happening a little bit, but especially this time of year as well. Generally drafts in July, August, you're seeing more casual players come in, guys that are in their redraft leagues. Maybe you're one of those guys, maybe you're not. The point is the field overall gets a little bit softer because it's not the people that draft year round like I do, like some of the folks that you may know in the best ball space do. So to see Saquon not be kind of beloved by casuals surprises me too, given the fact that, as we know in DFS, he was driven up ownership-wise exponentially down the home stretch. Obviously had a lot of great years, had some down games as well, or had a great year overall, but had some down games amidst some of the ceiling games. I'm just surprised to see Saquon be a player that people are not going to 102. I think he and Jamar Chase should be an easy 101, 102, whatever order you want to do that. They should be your top 2 picks, in my opinion. Ashton Gency, a guy you can see falling on the screen here. Not literally, the man himself, Ashton Gency, the rookie coming out of Boise State, not literally falling in front of your eyes. But here's a pick going down to pick 13. Frankly, I think he should be behind Derrick Henry. I take Derrick Henry quite a bit. Actually, across the industries right now, across all the best ball sites, I've got about 25% Derrick Henry. That said, I do want to get some more Achane in the mix. Want to kind of balance that out a little bit because that's what best ball is all about. I try to get exposure to different guys. But for Derrick Henry, he's normally going in rooms now, going 17, pick 20 in some rooms I've seen, starting to fall a little bit. It's not a great time to take him at pick 8, given the fact that he's falling in some rooms. Point being, though, is like, hey, weird this guy took him so early. He's also reaching for Jonathan Taylor. Maybe not the best moves for this guy drafting in pick 8 right now. But Henry being ahead of Gency, I'm cool with that. McCaffrey being ahead of Gency, that's what's happening naturally in ADP. I'm cool with that. Achane should probably be ahead of Gency as well. There's been a little bit too much rookie enthusiasm this year because people, I think, they missed out on Bucky Irving last year, a guy that I loved. But ADP-wise, he was going 150, 160, 170 throughout the entire draft cycle. I think people may be trying to overcompensate this year, take the rookie RBs more. And Gentry, I do believe, is a guy that'll give you a 2-touchdown ceiling pretty much from the moment he's on the field. But you have Mostert there, a guy that Pete Carroll, the new coach of the Raiders, has talked about being the lightning to Gentry's thunder is sort of the approach. Everything has to be lightning and thunder since it worked at USC so well back when I was in school there with Reggie Bush and Lendale White. But the point being is like, there's a two-headed backfield there to some extent, even if it's not, still mostly led by Gentry, which I expect. But I think for Gentry, really, like just projection-wise, and we are, Stochastic is a DFS channel primarily, obviously OddsShopper as well. You find the middle outcomes of betting, the odds you're looking for. It's a really important part of the equation as well. The projection for Gentry is not correct, I think, where he's going behind Henry, behind Achane enough. So I like Gentry as a talent. Like, he's got a lot of juice, high avoided tackle rate of college, high EPA per rush player, all stuff I look for. But I think he's a little bit overvalued personally. Rashee Rice here, we are at pick 22, so not really a big discount. I think Rashee Rice, a player I'm trying to get more of because, frankly, I don't love him. Even the way Patrick Mahomes talks about the receiver room, he expects this, had a recent quote, that he expects to be the deepest Chiefs receiver room he's had. As a result, I think that we're expecting there to be a little bit more overall opportunity for everybody, I would say. Make the screen bigger. I feel like because I was on vacation, the screen got shorter somehow, which is classic relatable content that we I take some time off. Everything gets a little bit lazier here, including the screen size. Jalen Hurts at pick 24 is kind of nuts too. DraftKings is starting to go a little bit wild. I compared to some other sites out there, the DraftKings player pool, the guys are competing against, I would say the least sharp. Hurts and Burrow, I would say really tough decision if I'm trying to be generous here. We're going to soak up some value, I think, with the crazy picks going on. The issue is the value is Josh Jacobs, which I don't love. Rashee Rice. We got our one receiver. I do like Trey McBride, but he's definitely falling in rooms right now. Like Garrett Wilson as well. I'm going to go T. Higgins here. Just want to be able to get another top flight receiver in, get some theoretical leverage against Jamar Chase teams when we are in the playoff weeks. And that's our third rule of thumb, by the way, that I forgot to mention because I'm so excited to be back talking to you guys again after taking last Thursday off to do some family activities. We were on a boat in the Anna Maria Island in Florida. So shout out to all you Florida people that actually know what that is. It was a great time, but point being, I had to take Thursday off to try to see my kid on a boat for the first time. And it was worth it. But I haven't gotten to talk to you guys in a week. So there's a lot of things to kind of get off my chest. Number 3 would be the expected value. That's our rule of thumbs that we talk about here on DraftKings. The expected value really in best ball is realized in week 17. And it's something as well that people forget a lot. Like on Twitter, you'll find, and Twitter best ball community, it has its highs, it has its lows. I'll say, if I'm again trying to be generous here. A lot of people on there really talk from a level of confidence that's not really aligned with what, the best approach to best ball is, how to win money in best ball, all that stuff. People really get obsessed with the idea of advance rate in best ball. And like, advance rate matters quite a bit. Advance rate's actually, a very important thing to be mindful of because you want to be close to your expected 16% advance rate on DraftKings. That pod format, basically, you're going to have 2 teams advancing out of 12. That's a 16% advance rate. You want to be close to that. But the biggest goal you have is to build teams that are able to have a shot to win, in week 17. And that's the big goal because everything is paid out in week 17. So again, people get really caught up in advance rate. Advance rate is a nice thing to have. The more teams you advance that are good, the better. But in particular, like there are things you could do that juke your advance rate, like not taking enough receiver capital. That'll expose itself. Pause. But that'll expose itself as you get into the playoff rounds where you're competing against teams that have well-balanced RB wide receiver rooms as opposed to chasing kind of RB projection points that a lot of drafters do. Stuff like this as well, where you're taking the 2 QBs early, eschewing, positions that you want to add more value on, RB wide receiver, even taking an elite tight end. You don't want to be that dead money is really the goal here. So being mindful of the fact that that money's paid out in week 17, that's when you're winning that share of $15 million on DraftKings. That's where you have a shot to win $2 million up top. You want to go in with your best, bullets possible. And that's, something that doesn't happen a lot of DraftKings. Again, double elite tight end here. It's really hard to dig out of that. And it is not supported by any data. We have many years of DraftKings data, best ball data in general. Like literally there is now about 10 to 15 years of accrued best ball data you can find. I'm out there on some sites. I'll give a plug to RotoViz. Obviously, use Stochastic for all your stuff, but Stochastic doesn't have best ball data tools. RotoViz, though, has some stuff from going back to, I believe, 2010 or so. there's been best ball for a while. We know what works and doesn't work. And ADP moves year to year, certainly, but like wasting this much capital at QB is never a move. QB projections are the flattest from QB1 to QB25. And then you're going to find across all the other positions. You can't compare Saquon Barkley to Marshawn Lloyd. And I love Marshawn Lloyd. Those guys aren't going to be in the same realm of projection. You can compare Jalen Hurts to Cam Ward, theoretically. So kind of doubling down on a onesie position where you only can play one guy in a given week. It's not the move. These are more like a super flex draft, which is a totally different thing. You don't want QB here. Crazy. Anyway, despite the kind of batshit QB choices, we're not really soaking up a ton of value. That said, this is kind of fun. Again, we're playing for week 17 here. A very easy week 17 correlation that I don't think I have a lot. Saquon Barkley and James Cook, Philadelphia playing Buffalo in week 17. One likely to be one of your highest scoring games in terms of the Vegas total for that one. So getting Saquon and James Cook here, I think kind of a fun start. And now we feel a little more solid at RB. James Cook does seem to be falling industry-wide, which I'm not sure why, given the fact he's not following through with an expected holdout. And also the fact that, James Cook probably due for a negative touchdown regression. He put up 16 last year. Ray Davis probably takes some more away. Josh Allen takes some more away this year. But I like James Cook at this price tag, so I'm happy to do it. And we could increase our Philadelphia-Buffalo bet if we wanted. Xavier Worthy here as well as a slight discount. Like Zay Flowers, it's a tough spot for me. I like a lot of these guys, but I'm going to go Worthy here. Devontae Smith, then we would have two Philadelphia pieces with James Cook as a bring back for week 17. That's a nice little mini game stack here, but we do want our game stack to involve the QB. I don't have access to Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts at this point. So I think just trying to deviate a little bit here, setting us up for a double with Patrick Mahomes, potentially get some Denver bring backs on the week 17 game. I think that's kind of what we're hoping to accomplish here. So let me give the team a read here, and I appreciate the chats. We got Saquon Barkley, James Cook, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Xavier Worthy. So feeling good at RB, getting Cook is a nice ADP value. KC double here. We definitely would like to get Mahomes as part of this team to make that bet on KC being a team that'll be an outlier this year. We're pretty well balanced as well, so I like that stuff. Anyway, our guy Robert from the Turd, one of my favorite internet people out there. The team is starting to give me wood, which, again, is more of a splash play comment, of course, my channel where things get perhaps a little more out of pocket, though, frankly, our pal Josh Engelman for years, he's been here, so obviously, that's he's carrying the weight too for saying inappropriate things. If you want to check out my channel on YouTube, I actually just did a draft on every major site out there. I'll drop the link in the chat right now so you guys can see it, because I think I'm the only person out there that streams all the sites equally, because I really do want to be mindful of giving my users the content that'll actually help them across all the platforms, but also being mindful of the fact that like people like drafting on some other sites out there. Like you might hear about Underdog a lot. You should be drafting on DraftKings because you're getting a lot of EV. Even today, they have a deal going right now. If you put in two of the $3 drafts on there, which are like the play action kind of structure you normally see weekly NFL DFS, you have 100K up top there and you're getting like a good amount of crowns back for one of their missions of the day. And not in addition to that, on DraftKings, when you draft your first entry in the big tournament, the DK Millie Maker, which is what I'm always streaming here on Stochastic at Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m., you're also getting for yourself basically a free entry the moment that you're putting in one entry. So you pay for one $20 entry, get a second one for free. That's two shots right away at $15 million. If you max out the tournament, you also get $300 in DK dollars, which is also nice to get back as kind of the rake back they give you. And frankly, a lot of sites out there, they're not giving you that same rake back deal, that same bonus for what you're getting here. And on DraftKings too, the last couple of years has been overlay. So you end up having some wild card entries in addition that might advance. And that's a little bit of an added bonus too. If whether they fill the tournament, that would change that equation a little bit. But those two things are always there for you on DraftKings. So this is obviously me shilling here because DraftKings sponsors the show. For you guys out there, like I think there's a penchant to be very brand loyal in best ball and in gambling in general. You want to be able to spread your action around in best ball, I think. And in particular on DraftKings this year, I think you're rewarded a lot for getting entries in. So do that if you can. Check out DraftKings, download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Play for your shot at $15 million. And of course, $2 million first place, top 10 finishers, each win at least $100,000. It's nice to have that upside. I think that's what best ball provides you, that there's enough of a randomness component that comes in both between just player injuries, how things work out over the course of a season, but also pod luck, how that works on DraftKings is that first round, you're competing against 12 people or 11 people besides you to advance from your initial pod. Then you face another 12-person pod or whatever it is, but you're facing, you're facing like groups of 12 to 16 in each round. Then the finals on DraftKings are facing about 1,000 people. You have your best shot to win money here as opposed to, week to week. Obviously, you hear this, the great stories of success from Stochastic, both people on the content team here, as well as users. For best ball, I think you have your best shot overall to have that big payday because of the fact that there is a big randomness component, and guys like, Alex Baker, the great Osmo himself, guys like Tom, the CEO of Stochastic, guys who've won so much money, they don't have as obvious an advantage in best ball as you may from just adhering to structure, being ADP sensitive, things like that. So that's my best ball sales pitch, I guess. I don't know that anybody asked for it, but we're filling an hour here. A lot of time in between picks when you're picking close to the turn, and people on DraftKings love to soak up that entire 30-second clock. So that's why you get spiels about best ball and how important it is as a gambling adventure. I don't know. Exercise, that's probably the better word. Two players I like coming up here. Mahomes also coming up here. And do I trust the guys at the corner to not just take Mahomes for no reason? I mean, this guy, I would say no. The guy in the one hole would hopefully not, given that he's got a Hurts and Burrow, but it's tough. RJ Harvey would give us week 17 correlation. I am not a big RJ Harvey guy. I just think he's really overpriced, and to me, not a special talent in the way people seem to think. Deebo Samuel, I like for his touchdown equity. But I think right now the most important player for us is Mahomes, and I just don't trust the guys around the bend to not snipe him. So I'm going to take Mahomes here. And this comes down to personal preference. I normally will try to push QB to get the best deal on a quarterback as possible. But these markets right now are very QB frenzied, and people draft kind of recklessly in a way that isn't always GTO, game theory optimal. So sometimes you got to take Mahomes on that first pick instead of waiting for him at pick 75 here. But anyway, we got Mahomes here double stacked. That's pretty good. If Harvey comes back, again, I don't love him overall, but at pick 75, when he's normally got the 63 ADP, it's probably a good click. We do also have Kelsey here, but I think Harvey has a value that's getting a little bit more unique, even though this is probably what his price should be, in my opinion. I'll go RJ Harvey. So we do only have 3 wide receivers. Adding our third RB, we're a little bit off in terms of draft capital right now. Would have loved to have gotten one more receiver in, but Harvey is an ADP discount. You got to choose your weapons, choose your battles to have sometimes. And I would say for RJ Harvey, getting him as a value to me was more worth it than grabbing a normal receiver I'd get at range. So I've got Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, James Cook, week 17 correlation for Philadelphia, Buffalo there. Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Xavier Worthy, RJ Harvey. Not crazy values on the top receivers I got here, but Harvey, again, I think is pretty tempting at this point. Given people at one point were taking him in the 40s in draft rooms, to get him at this stage at pick 70, I think you take your shots. But really, to me, I mentioned this on my last stream, my Splash Play stream, and I do try to repeat things because people can't watch everything. Think that for RJ Harvey, the big thing that worries me, and it's not the draft capital because that was great. Sean Payton took him high enough that we would think he's got a good shot at starting. Certainly positive talk from Sean Payton as well about his potential. But the fact they had minicamp and then they thought, hey, we got to go out of our way to get J.K. Dobbins. After Sean Payton had talked up Harvey, had talked up Audric Estime, a guy I liked a lot last year coming out of Notre Dame. Not an avoided tackle rate guy who's going to really blow you out of the water there. Like a Bucky Irving, like a Kenneth Walker, more of a power back. He's a guy that can still take red zone work away, but when you bring in Dobbins, like it's a bit of an indoctrination on Harvey and how he's looked so far, how ready he is for week 1 kind of stuff. Estime, I think of a bit of an indoctrination on him. Jaleel McLaughlin as your pass casting back, probably a bit of indoctrination on him. So that's sort of how I try to view best ball. Certainly there's degrees of, randomness / a spectrum of things that can occur positively and negatively within that. But that's, that'd be my critique of RJ Harvey, even going to pick 75. Like Aaron Jones, you kind of know we're getting something projectable. Quinshon Judkins, I think, might find it harder to be a third down back than expected because he really wasn't a bell cow back at OSU competing for touches with Henderson. But also, he's got Jerome Ford there, who is a guy that the Browns have trusted across various RB situations over the years, and they brought him back on reduced money. So they wanted him, even though they didn't go out of their way to pay him big money or anything. Dylan Sampson, I don't think the other rookie is going to be as ready for prime time, but he does bring a speed element that Judkins doesn't have necessarily quite as much. I'd rather have a projectable guy like Aaron Jones like David Montgomery, who's got a ton of contingent value as well. DeAndre Swift, I think, has been going too cheap everywhere, and now he's up at pick 67 here. That's a good price tag for him. But these guys, to me, like, you could point to how they would have, 15 touchdown years potentially for Aaron Jones, split between receiving and, rushing, I would say. For Harvey, for Judkins, there's like a real downside there. I think you can make the case they could go behind Tony Pollard, though. He's also likely in a timeshare with Tyjae Spears, guy who came on very strong at the end of last year when Pollard was banged up. I think the rookies have just been too over-enthusiastic the entire time, and that's been one of my biggest theses of the year. Hopefully it's not feces, but I would say that's, boy, you don't get a lot of feces jokes, and probably for good reason, but you get one here. Team is clapping cheeks. I'll take that. We got to dig out of the hole at receiver a little bit, but I think we're okay. Bo Nix goes. Wasn't really a consideration for me. For the Denver KC bet, Evan Ingram would be a nice pick at this point. The guys around the turn could take receivers. I'm going to take Ingram here. I like getting the week 17 bring back at tight end. We didn't take Travis Kelce or didn't get him. So being able to go Evan Ingram, I think instead, an Arma Holmes stack, I think that's a really nice week 17 connection to have. This guy is reaching for Kincaid really early, so I think I did the right thing to get Ingram instead. He's going to take a Josh. See, this is fucked up. What are these guys doing? Josh Palmer? I like Josh Palmer. He's not a 97 ADP. He's not a 96 ADP. This guy also doesn't even have Josh Allen, so why would you take this draft could get thrown out, would be my concern. Want to get a receiver in here. I do like Darnell Mooney a good amount, but Ricky Pearsall, another 16-pick ADP value here because he has a questionable tag in July, long before the games matter. Ricky Pearsall's the pick. This pocket of the room, though, this is going batshit. Somebody took Bateman at 82. I didn't even see that. This room is reaching all over the place. Ramondre at 87 as well. I don't know what's going on here, but when you're a room, okay, so this is a special example, guys. You're getting some 401 level college theory here. Even if if me as your teacher, we're absolutely talking community college, and really by community college, I mean like the show community, where I'm like a total farcical teacher that would probably be canceled in retrospect, like Mr. Chang or whatever, Dr. Chang. I don't know what his name was. Ken Jeong, great actor. Point being, when you're in a room like this where things are just going weird, just soak up the ADP value. Try to make sure you're staying on structure. Don't take every RB. Don't take every wide receiver. But this is a room where you have a lot of people doing shit that's not good relative to ADP. You had Debo dropping to pick 84. Just absorb the value you're getting in these rooms if you can. When people do crazy shit around you, because that might make your team more unique. And the best thing, again, tying back to the point about ADP that we talked about earlier, the best way to make your team unique is not reaching for guys, is not doing crazy constructions and trying to flip the board or whatever, like this guy did here with Henry and Taylor. That could work out for sure. And I think this guy did draft a pretty smart team after that, soaking up value, building a good structure, all that. He's seemingly week 17 correlating a little bit. I think this guy actually did a nice job drafting, but you want to just let your team be unique through soaking up what a room gives you and all that. And in particular, players you don't normally get at a certain price tag. So right now, if Tyrone Tracy at pick 110, he's normally going in a 12-pick band because that's how just ADP works. Every time you take somebody 12 picks early, somebody else got that same guy 12 picks after ADP. But if you absorb guys that have 20-pick discounts in ADP over and over again, your team is now incredibly unique, and also you've added extra rounds of value of player. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do in best ball. So I feel like I'm really gospeling here on a thing that's pretty straightforward. It's literally in terms of absorbing ADP value, and you keep getting ADP value and over again because a room is dumb or just doing something silly that they don't know what they're doing. Maybe not sharp is a better way to put it. That's the best way to get unique because you're building what's basically a super team. And God forbid you also capture guys before, massive ADP rise. Let's say Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk ruled out for the year because he had an issue with his injury. Pearsall is going to be a top 2 receiver for the Niners all year. He's probably normally undervalued at that point by 20 picks. I got him in this room at a 15-pick discount. So he could end up being a part of a super powered team. So you can kind of get it on both ends theoretically. And obviously if Ricky Pearsall tore his ACL, I'd be fucked. So that's the yin and yang of best ball, if I could sum it up amidst this chaotic nonsense that's going on here. No obvious correlations at this point. ADP value is there on Caleb Williams, but the best parts of the stack with him are definitely gone. 2-3-4 build right for me right now. I'm going to get Justin Herbert here. I think that click works for me. And let's see what we get back. I'm trying to set something up here. But we've lost out on Joe Burrow, obviously. We didn't get Bo Nix, so we wouldn't want him anyway because we have the other week 17 QB that he's playing. Lost out on Brock Purdy already. So we're trying to set up another stack here, ideally. The guy took Trey Harris, though, so that kind of ruined it for me. This is going to have to be a Quentin Johnston team later on. Maybe should have just taken Caleb as my uniqueness. I just don't know what the value of a Caleb Williams stack is when you don't have Odunze or DJ Moore. I think those guys hitting is one of the more likely outcomes. At this point, though, Caleb 18 spots after ADP. Oh, I hate this. I hate the way this worked out for me here. Really would like to get my fourth receiver or fifth receiver. I am going to go Shaheed. I think we're at a bit of a tier break with that. Shaheed, I think, is safely ahead of Mims. Mims and Kirk, I think, are a bit of a tier. After that, I think you'd argue it falls off the cliff with Thielen at 142.5 ADP. Kyle Williams, a guy who did get decent draft capital, but has been playing safely behind Pop Douglas out of the slot. I think he's going to be kind of the Jalen Noel to Christian Kirk situation for New England. Kyle Williams mispriced. Wanted to try to get a player who's good in. I also thought Trey Harris would come back to me, so I figured I could take Herbert here. That would kind of naturally push Trey Harris around. But this guy just took Trey Harris, so it is what it is. But I think at this point, a 2-3-5-1 build, we have good RB capital with Saquon, James Cook, again, a week 17 correlation there. We have good stacking with Mahomes, two bringbacks from Denver, and Mahomes stacked up with Worthy and with Rashee Rice. Herbert and Trey Harris would have made the seam cleaner. But we got big values. I can't be mad at the seam, I think, no matter how I stick the landing or don't. Let's pull the draft board into a reasonable viewing window here. Here we go. Who do I like? Wilson, Atwell, or Diami? I mean, Diami's going to come up a good amount. If you're talking Roman Wilson, I really don't like him very much. Think he'll be playing safely behind Calvin Austin, though. You make the case that's an ambiguous bet. If I had to guess, Calvin Austin is more the kind of player that's going to work well with what Aaron Rodgers wants, a reliable, PPR racking up kind of target. Whereas Roman Wilson, I think a viable deep shot guy, but I just don't think he's a target. I mean, he wasn't a target earner in college. He had a year of not playing. I don't think he's going to be a better target earner now. Michael Wilson. Okay. For Michael Wilson, I mean, Michael Wilson ADP wise would be the best ADP click out of that range. I personally favor Diami though. Diami was the first guy this new, Liam Cohen regime coming in, we'll call it. Plus, the front office also changing over there as well. He's the first guy they went out and got in free agency. They paid him about 10 mil. They've been talking him up. Pro Football Focus had an article saying why Diami Brown's going to possibly explode this year because the coaches basically want to get him a different route tree than he's ever had. You have Travis Hunter there, who's going to be a good targeter, obviously coming in. And I do expect him to be playing about 75%, 80% of the offensive snaps. Certainly some amount of defense as well, but they're clearly using him like offense. They drafted him for his offensive talent. That's what the case has been so far. Brian Thomas also was great last year. He should ascend another level. Definitely showed the depth of routes, the route tree that you want to see as well, as the guys around him got hurt / traded / whatever. So for how it is with Brian Thomas and for Travis Hunter, those guys are great, but they're also going to command a lot of attention that should open things up for Diami Brown, a guy who did show he could spike pretty meaningfully for Washington and really for Washington as well. He spiked when they needed it the most, and I think that kind of stood out for me. So I would say my personal choice would be Diami Brown. Michael Wilson has been the highest priced guy or the most lowest ADP guy, if you want to view it that way. That's been the case for a while, so I don't know. You should always follow ADP. I think 2-2 is a fine click, but mostly to me, if you have Falcons for the week 17 correlation, you have a Ram stack with Stafford. I think he looks more appealing. think for Tutu, the biggest benefit for him is that you get leverage theoretically if he were to somehow go nuts in week 15, week 16, week 17, gets you a ton of leverage on a much higher drafted Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, two guys who we would expect to have a shot at being your really high scoring wide receivers. But he himself is a player. I mean, he's getting paid decently. Like I think he got like 10 mil and change. So I don't mind Tutu. But I don't think he's a great click. All right. I got my guy Chunk here, Chunk of the Deuce, making his pick. Really thinking about it. He goes Thielen. I thought he was going to go Marvin Mims because we just talked about him on stream right before this. I'm going to go Marvin Mims here. Correlates with our KC stuff. Mims is a guy who's falling in rooms right now, and I really don't think he should. I think him versus Shahid is a lot closer than it is for the market, it seems. The Mims coming as another ADP value. Very happy to do that, even though I certainly want to get some more RB, and if we can. Really a lot of fallers. Trevor Lawrence falling in the Q tag rule here on DraftKings. If guys a questionable tag, people just let them fall in ADP for really no particular reason. Q tag in July matters as much as a guy scoring a lot in Madden. Like it really doesn't correlate to anything that we care about. Soft tissue injury in August, you can worry about that more. But really no reason Trevor Lawrence and Colston Loveland should be available here. See, now I really wish I had taken Caleb Williams because I could then add on Colston Loveland. But I'll add a little bit more into the Philadelphia Buffalo correlation here. Didn't take Devontae Smith. Didn't get anything besides Saquon for Philadelphia. So we'll add more Philly Buffalo on with Dallas Goedert. So a 2-3-6-2 build. Again, we took Saquon, so he should cover over some warts. I'm going to try to cherry pick RB more. I just didn't really want to go grab anybody early when we still have some relative ADP values at this point. We got a Mahomes, Saquon Barkley start here. Well, I guess not start because we took Mahomes later, but you get the point. James Cook, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Xavier Worthy, Evan Ingram, RJ Harvey is a big ADP value. Is really the only way I would do that. Ricky Pearsall, also pretty big ADP value on him. Justin Herbert, no correlation yet for him. Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims, Dallas Goedert. Somebody was saying Herbert to Conklin. I would go Will Dissly as my tight end of choice for the Chargers still. Dissly getting paid more money. Dissly also, much like a Tyler Higbee, another LA tight end, targeted way more per route run than you would think. Dissly had a 24.2% target per route run, 0.2 EPA per target, 0.5 red zone targets a game. Not bad workload there. Higbee, another guy that's one of those other kind of hidden gems that they did draft a rookie who's going to play at some point. But I would think for Higbee was nuts for the amount that he played last year. 0.4 EPA per target for him, which is incredibly high for a tight end. 2 red zone targets a game, 37.5% target per route run. Obviously, even if he were like that good, with Devontae Adams coming in, he would come down a lot naturally. But like Higbee's a free player in these 20-round drafts. He's available. I think both LA tight ends, I feel like more undervalued than they should be with what they did analytically last year, but people don't follow that stuff as obsessively as I do, so I get it. But there we go. Free takes. Just like 52 catches. Yeah, I mean, for guys in the 20th round, that's fine. Although we only do one DK draft here, only one at a time. If you want to get tipped off to when I do a draft, you can join my Discord. My OddsShopper Tails page down below gets you access. You can also join my other YouTube channel if you want. But that's the way to go whenever I'm doing a draft. I basically, whenever I start a stream, I say, hey, there's this many spots left. But here on stream, it's just the stream's going to start, at 3 basically. But I appreciate you trying to hang out, Mike. Do your own DraftKings drafts, though, you guys out there, not just Mike. But get in there now. Get your free entry as well. Again, wow. Penix at 162 is a really nice click. Good for whoever got that. Penix with London. Wow, this guy's honestly, other people in this room have soaked up pretty nice rooms here. Getting Nico and Drake London here. I mean, Nico's a bit of a reach for him, but I like that room. Definitely spammed wide receiver a little bit more than I would at this stage of ADP, but a not bad 0 RB room either. It's really, DraftKings is such a funny site. And again, great site to play on for that reason. You see some of the most batshit, not good, like not structurally sound drafts. Then you also see people that are just like drafted alongside that, soaking up all the value, like doing good things with it. I think that's what this room looks like to me, not just my team. Garendo here, another 20 ADP pick discount. I would actually take him at pick 150 anyway. So Garendo, come on down. And Mike, this is a DraftKings sponsored stream, so that'll only be DraftKings on here. If you want to see me draft underdog, you can check my Splash Play channel. I also draft drafters on there, but check it out. That sounds like a fake site. I draft drafters, but not drafters. Great partner to me on there as well. You check out my YouTube channel if you want to see me draft other stuff. Stochastic, though, as far as I know, it's only going to be DK this summer. Cam Ward free here. Quentin Johnson went, right? Yeah, he went. So we're not going to be able to stack up Herbert with any receiver. That's kind of annoying. Tank Bigsby, I think, still a viable click. I feel okay with my 6 receivers. I'm just going to soak up a little bit more value with Bigsby. This is just where we are. Cam Ward, I like a good amount as well. He's going in this room 20 picks after ADP. I think he would have been a valid click to make here as well, but really needed to catch up at RB more because I starved that position too much. But I'm getting really good value because Garendo normally would go about a round and a half earlier. Bigsby would normally go a round earlier. This is a really strong team, is how I feel about it. Even though, like, you could always argue player choices and things like that. This soaking up this much draft capital for players that are totally valid to me, like Garendo, will certainly benefit the most if McCaffrey gets hurt. But also, I think will be used a player who takes some pressure off McCaffrey. Getting him as a 20 pick discount on top of all the value I've gotten, the team is kind of silly. So even if it doesn't seem like it, this is what good teams look like. Player takes aside. So team so far: Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, James Cook. Getting our Week 17 correlation at RB. Rashee Rice, part of our KC stack. T. Higgins, got him as a little bit of a value. Xavier Worthy, I guess a lot of Week 10 buys would be our one critique at receiver. Evan Ingram, part of our KC bring back for Week 17. Same thing for RJ Harvey, who was also a very big ADP discount. Pearsall was a big discount. Herbert, I shouldn't have taken. I should have taken Caleb Williams as the ADP value there. So the one time I didn't do the ADP whoring thing, I kind of took the worst play for me, where not a lot of natural stack partners at this point, unfortunately. Shaheed, though, that works for me. Mims was a nice value, about 20 spots after ADP. Dallas Goedert, part of our Buffalo Philly correlation. Garendo here is a 20 pick discount. Bigsby is a 12 pick discount. The team did what it's supposed to do. It's not, again, it's not always sexy, the structure itself. I still had my most fun, in general, if I were to do it now, spamming for superstar wide receivers early on, taking a bunch of dudes like, Jefferson plus, you can't get this year, but Jefferson plus Neighbors plus Nico Collins, those kind of things feel very fun. 2 of those 3 you could probably get together. That's all really, to me, those are the most fun teams, but really teams where you just get unique through value occurring for you. Again, it's like getting a 55K salary on a DFS slate as opposed to 50K. Your team's just better for it. Or projection wise, even getting, when you run an optimizer or you run one of the sims, it's your top projected lineup is 300 and you're getting a bunch of lineups that are projected at 250 or something. Those 250 ones could win a large field GPP for sure, but you want to get the highest projection you can. And by getting ADP value over and over and over again, that's sort of how that happens. But I've made the point enough, hopefully. I'm trying to drive it home, though, because this is really one of the most important things in best ball. It's not sexy convo. We're not having dope player takes right now. But all right, we've got 2 tight ends. I think a third at the very least would be nice here, because I certainly don't think Evan Ingram and Dallas Goedert are enough compared to your elite tight ends and things like that. Could again take more value here with Cade Otton, a guy who's normally going about 12 spots higher. I see no reason to break the trend at this point. I like Tampa Bay. We didn't get any Tampa Bay receivers. So for this particular lineup, we'll make a bet that your Mike Evanses, your Chris Godwins don't hit. And for Week 17, maybe Cade Otton spikes. Who knows? 2-5-6-3 build is where we're at right now. Guys, I like at the stage of a draft, Justice Hill, your leverage against Derrick Henry's normal greatness. Marshawn Lloyd, another one. But I'd like to get another receiver in. I'm going to go Diami Brown here. Diami Brown, a player I think is going to be on the upswing. Obviously, again, with Hunter and with Brian Thomas there, you're certainly going. But in terms of the spike peak potential, in terms of what we're looking for in best ball, which is a guy that'll give us 15 to 20 points at this range, if you can do it 3 to 4 times in a year, fantastic. He's going to be really open a lot. Like, they're going to scheme him open. They like him. They're paying him about 10 mil. For Dyami Brown, he showed a lot to me, I think, with Washington last year. I was so in the bag for Jaden Daniels. I watched every Washington game from start to finish, even the one he didn't play. And it really was a thing for Dyami Brown, or to see him coming on down the stretch. Noah Brown got hurt was a big part of it as well. But like, he flashed in a way that I was kind of surprised by. I don't think he was a better receiver for the team than even, when he played well. He wasn't better than McLaurin. He wasn't better than Zach Ertz. And you can make the case he was like 1-to-1 with Noah Brown. But I think he showed a lot. And again, having a guy like Liam Cohen want to bring you in as the first free agent signing, I think that's something that should stand out more. So to me, Dyami Brown, once you get a little more camp hype, once people see some Twitter highlights of him making catches, as stupid as that is, I think he comes up more to at least his Jack Best range. This guy took Wicks really early, so I can't say that. But I think he should at least be in this Jack Best, Wan'Dale Robinson range. I think if you're really optimistic about him, he can go more. Where'd Leggett go here? This guy fucked up the entire board. This guy in the one hole. It's like, like Xavier Leggett's normally going 155, 160. Here he went 120. This guy's team is really something else. His receivers in the one hole: Shakir, Palmer, Leggett, Quentin Johnson. Oh, he snapped Quentin Johnson for me. Dontavian Wicks. Like, all guys who should probably be about your wide receiver 4 or 5 at best. And Shakir is fine, but that's just it's not good drafting. That's donating. So if you take anything away from the stream, number 1, soak up ADP value. Number 2, don't draft like the one hole, because you're basically donating money. Obviously, again, DFS stuff. If you had 1 million people putting in dog shit entries built off of not stochastic projections, you want them to play in your tournament. So you do want people like this to exist in the ecosystem, but don't be that guy. Even if you think it's brilliant, it's probably, it's not. No data would support a team like that. Just reaching a ton, like 60 spots ahead of ADP. Even if you had like the sports almanac from Back to the Future or whatever, I'd be like, I still probably don't want that. Like, I don't like to see him would advance. I think the team, maybe that's the correct team in week 17 somehow. I don't think it would advance. Drafted a pretty killer team from the 101. Are you Mig Man here? Killer team in as much as like killing your EV. There we go. That's the joke we can make. That's a killer team. Yoshivas here, guy is playing a lot of wide receiver 3 for Cincinnati. Don't think a bad click at this range. Not a big Brashard Smith believer. Think that every year somebody gets talked up as like a Chiefs back that matters, and I doubt they do. So I'm going to go Yoshivas here. Feel like he's kind of a tier break in terms of credible wide receivers in this range. And I feel like I should just take 5 tight ends. Like, I feel good about my RB room, or at least good enough about it, in as much as like nothing's going to make it much better. And I think there are fun correlations to make if I do take 2 more tight ends. Let's think about this. I've got 3 tight ends: Ingram, Cade Otton, Dallas Goedert. None of those guys scream projection killer to me. So adding a 4th tight end, I think, is totally logical to do. I want Noah Gray for this Mahomes team, because I do think Noah Gray is going to have some spike weeks this year. For best ball, I think he's a good click. For DFS, week to week, probably going to be hard to play him. We have a 2-5-8-4 build here with Noah Gray. I still think the team could take Will Dissly. I suppose if Mike Williams were to come back, that's another Chargers receiver I could take just to give me something stacked up with Herbert. But really the thing that I fucked up was taking Herbert here. If I'd taken Caleb Williams, I would have gotten a better ADP discount. And also I could have added on Luther Burden, Cole Kmet. Could have gotten some other values on top of that. So I think that's my one real big error here besides whatever we're doing. Look at the team read a sec. Let's catch up in chats. Glad to hear Jimmy is not the one-hole guy. A one-hole guy let money on fire. Tank Dell's literally not likely to play this year. Maybe he'll somehow play by the end of the season, but odds are he, much like Tyrese Halliburton, likely to miss the entire year. Naylor, also a guy, again, not to beat up on the one hole guy. Naylor, also a guy probably going to get lapped by Ty Felton at some point. Rookie coming in who's a pretty good target earner, freak athlete as well in terms of his his relative athletic scores. They're not random. Minnesota's, I think the Ty Felton, Jalen Naylor debate, not one we needed to have today, but well, I'm beating up on the one hole. That's how I would also beat up on the one hole. Let's see. 2693 favorite DK build. Sure. I mean, I just feel like at a certain point, it just depends on what you have. And like, I feel good about receiver with Rice, Higgins, Worthy as a top 3. Pearsall is a huge value. I don't love him as wide receiver 4 overall, but him and Rashid Shaheed with Mims, I feel like that's a credible 4, 5, 6 enough. Diami Brown on top of that, Yoshivas on top of that. I just don't know what another receiver really does for me at this point. Yeah, for Houston, I don't even think there's anybody I would take either. Yeah, look, I could definitely do another receiver. I just want to get Disley on the team. I think it's really, once that entered my brain and I have an unstacked Justin Herbert, it just feels right for me to get Disley here. Somebody take Mike Williams. No, Mike Williams available. I could take Mike Williams here. He spiked like once for Pittsburgh, right? He had a 10-point game. Another 10-point game. Well, this Mike Williams, he's due for a comeback. What did Disley do? Disley, a 15-point game, an 18-point game, a 16-point game. Again, Will Disley, you did more than you realize for a lot of people. And all these picks suck. We're in round 20. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, look, Tutu Atwell, a viable click as a 9th receiver. Ugh. Let's go Tutu. Maybe Jalen Royals. Is he still available? No, he got taken too. Fuck it. Well, final team here. I'll take some chats because we got about 10 minutes left before I should end the stream. We got Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, James Cook. So again, week 17 correlation, still something I would say is an important thing to do, even if you don't have to force it. Don't go reaching like crazy for it. But Barkley and Cook both playing in week 17. So hopefully one of the RBs hits in that game, if not both. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy stacked up with Mahomes. T. Higgins, we also got amidst that grouping up top. Evan Ingram, Ricky Pearsall, big value on him, big value in Harvey as well. Justin Herbert, my one misstep here is taking him without any correlation. Thought I'd be able to put something together, but the guy took Trey Harris. Somebody reached early for Quentin Johnson. It didn't work out. Rashid Shaheed, though, I like him to round out the receiver room with Marvin Mims, Dallas Goedert, part of our Buffalo Philly stuff. Garendo, big ADP discount, 20 spots after ADP. Bigsby, 12 spots after ADP. Otten was another 12 after ADP. Diami Brown, I think, just undervalued. Yoshivas, I like to round out the room. Noah Gray, more KC stacking here. I think he's a good click if you want to do a 20-round draft, tight end 4, tight end 3. And Tutu Atwell probably shouldn't be available in round 20. Who are some of my favorite late-round receivers? Diami Brown absolutely would be one of them. In terms of the board, let me just go through and see. I do think Yoshivas, another year of him of seasoning is a positive. With how much Chase and Higgins command targets, certainly you're not expecting Yoshivas to hit a lot. But in terms of getting you leverage in the playoffs, and a guy's going to be out there because he blocks well as a slot guy, like I think Yoshivas, and he's also reliable as opposed to Jermaine Burton. I think Yoshivas still gives you some upside. But Diami Brown, absolutely. Elijah Moore, if you have Josh Allen and you don't have Palmer, Shakir, and Keon Coleman, I think that's when Moore works. Josh Reynolds, I think if you have Fields, he looks okay. Alec Pierce, I think, is a little bit undervalued. A.D. Mitchell, if you want to get the other version of that. Pierce was good last year. He had like a 0.4 EPA per target, 2 deep targets a game. Obviously, AR is going to be the one that should help him out the most. But frankly, Daniel Jones still needs somebody downfield to get open. When you have guys who are mostly underneath targets like Tyler Warren coming in, like Josh Downs, like Pittman. So Pierce, definitely one of those guys for me. Keenan Allen, I would absorb the free agent risk for him because the second he signs somewhere, you're going to get a J.K. Dobbins-like jump up. If he goes somewhere good because somebody got hurt, even more so. But I have Keenan Allen. I have him over 20% on every platform right now for best ball. I think Keenan Allen, if you have a good top 5, good top 6, adding him as that last receiver on there, I think that's a really good move right now. Pop Douglas, good on PPR, better on PPR. Wicks normally goes for free. This guy took him really early, but I think Wicks is a decent click. Got a shitload of targets last year per route, so that stands out for me. Try the WNBA? No, never. Actually, no. Yeah, do it on DraftKings, I guess, so we're not plugging that. I think the back Detroit wide receiver room is murky. Click some Tim Patrick. You should take Tesla, I think, if you're going to take somebody, but the top 2, like if Jameson Williams is any better, there's not going to be much production to go around for those 2, like top 2 plus Laporta. And then you have the run game that's going to be so dominant as well. Johnny Morton, the new OC coming in, they would have to change everything, and I don't think that's what they are promoting him to do. Like Coker late, I don't. I think that he's going to be safely behind Thielen. You still have Leggett there. You're adding in McMillan. I don't think Coker's got a lot of outcomes to win, and like he's an undrafted guy. Like Leggett was a first-round pick. Tet's a first-round pick. I mean, Thielen's been really good for that role as well, and he's been the lead slot. I don't see it for Coker, but valid. Tillman's coming up in ADP, so I don't think he's a late guy, but sure. Is that it? For the 1 hole or the 2 hole? I prefer the 101 if I can get it. I know what you're trying to push at. But that's the stream for today, guys. Again, show some love if you can. Hit that like button, subscribe. I forgot to pander for that early on. It's me reactivating myself here after missing 1 stream last week for vacation. But I do appreciate you guys who watched this one. So show some love if you can. Hit that like button, subscribe. Show Stochastic that best ball streams matter on this very DFS forward channel. We're getting great advice, of course, every day. And hey, you got the MLB All-Star break coming up. So play some best ball lineups on DraftKings. Of course, drafting for NFL season. About 58 days left until NFL season starts. So these tournaments all close. So every slate is alive before lock, basically. But join me on this journey Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. More than anything, download that DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Get your 2 shots at $15 million in total prizes. $2 million up top, the biggest prize you could possibly win. You get that for best ball. So that's the biggest sales pitch I can give you guys. And really, you can follow ADP, stack and correlate like you're doing for DFS. And of course, make sure you are soaking up the value ADP-wise as well. And make sure you're playing for Week 17. Same stuff we always talk about. If you live by those rules of thumb, you'll build some good teams. And in particular, once we head into the crazy season where people are just doing dumb shit on their teams, drafting that way on DraftKings, if you're playing on Underdog, playing on all those other sites, it'll help you out as well. Check out my other streams as well. You want to see me draft some other sites, like check out my Splash Play Pod channel. I'll be back with you guys again on Thursday. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in later for some MLB live before lock. And I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck and go play on some DraftKings. All right. Bye, guys.